Okay, this video is how do you optimize communication. So rule number one, a story is easiest for the brain to process. And I heard somebody say it, I don't remember who said it, the brain is a story processor, not a logic processor. So you always want to put it into a story if you can, a narrative format. Illustrations are much more memorable. Dennis Burkett had pointed that out many years ago. People could remember his drawings 10 years later. Plus, Lionel Stanton did a research paper where they could show people 10,000 pictures and they'd still remember the vast majority of them the next day, but they wouldn't remember 10,000 words. Okay, so you want, to tell a story with pictures, okay? And you can use a mouse to point out stuff. Like I'm going to show you stuff in this drawing here in a moment. I'll point it out. Metaphors hold the most information in the least space. So metaphors are very powerful to come up with a good metaphor. And I like the Eustace Liebig quote that basically once you've got a new concept and you understand it, it's like a new sense. You can perceive additional things that previously were invisible. Jokes make stuff more memorable, more fun. Rhetoric is like impact boosters. Cicero had said rhyme is a magnet for the ear, so if you can put it into a rhyme, it sticks in the person's brain like, if the gloves don't fit, you must acquit, okay? Active voice, easier to follow, so you want it to be clear. The key thing, too, is your tone, your attitude, like you're talking to an intelligent friend. What do you do when you call a friend? You go, hey, I got a story for you, and you tell them a story, okay? On a topic that they care about. It has to be something that benefits them in some way or that they're interested to some extent. So you got to try to find that common ground of interest for them. Whatever's emotional, include that in there because the emotion, again, it's an impact booster. It energizes interest in the topic, then the likelihood they're going to remember. Only emotion endures, Ezra Pound. With enthusiasm, Robert Frost, the poet, no tears in the writer, no tears in the reader. And when I'm writing something, I'll often just be like having a stream of consciousness and I'll write something down and it'll make me laugh. I go, hey, that's funny. And then I'll say to myself, oh, you know what? That's a little bit tacky. Maybe I should take it out. Then I say to myself, well, it made me laugh. If it made me laugh, it'll probably make somebody else laugh too. So then I got to decide. Usually I'll just leave it in. But okay, so include your own personal experience with the material. That makes it more real for the audience is a quote by Jordan Peterson. I think there's some truth in that. And I've seen that because, most of the time I do stuff alone. But since I have a girlfriend, I never used to watch movies or anything with my ex-wife. Once in a blue moon, I'd watch a movie with her. But, most of the time, no. Okay? So, but my girlfriend, sometimes I'll watch something with her and I'll notice that she'll have a totally different reaction to what I'm watching. For example, I recently watched a video about Cosimo Medici. And the speaker was this English historian with a thick accent. And she couldn't understand what he was saying, and he showed no pictures. But because I've studied the Italian Renaissance a ton, and the Medicis and all that stuff, backwards and forwards, I enjoyed it because they were going into some subtle nuance stuff that I thought was interesting. But I could tell she hated it. And then later I clicked on this other video where they had lots of paintings and photographs of Florence, and I could tell that she would have liked that. But I was kind of bored with it because it was just baby level, introductory level stuff about the Renaissance and the Medicis. But what I thought to myself, the best possible video would have been those illustrations plus that sophisticated discussion, but without such a thick accent. And that's what got me thinking about this, Okay, what else? Relevant historical quotes is like putting a little spice on the food, a little salt on the food. Include where the viewer can go for more information. So yeah, if you got aficionados that want more, you can have the references to the scientific papers. You can have the books that were written and give a quick, rating of them if you think they're good or not, worth the reader's while. Let them know the name of the painting, so if they love the painting, they can look up the painting for themselves. I love paintings. Dress nice. It's a sign of respect for the audience that you dress nice. I don't buy that, wear a t-shirt stuff. I know a lot of people do, and they're actually a lot more popular than me. But they're more popular than me because they're promoting something and big businesses promoting them, not because they have anything useful to say. Hand gestures can help. They need to see your face. Brian Tracy would say that. The biggest difference between an audiobook and a video is that they can see your face. I just want to show you one example of how much a picture helps. here is the Windkessel effect, that when the left ventricle contracts, pushes blood into the ascending thoracic aorta, which is then stretched outward, and it has elastic fibers that recoil inward during diastole to generate diastolic flow. That's the Windkessel effect. The Windkessel is a device like a little accordion that you blow air on a fire, on the kindles, to get them to inflame and cause the fire. And so anyways, the relevance of this image is just that you want to get your diet under control. The faster the better, because the longer you're eating these high-fat foods, the more you're going to be stretching your ascending thoracic aorta and overstretching those fibers. Then you lose them. You can't replace them again after adult maturity, 20 years of age. So you're going to trash your Windkessel. So you don't want to do that, because then it's only going to get worse. You can get a vicious cycle, and you defill the left ventricle, intramyocardial branches of the coronary arteries during diastole. So if you have to pump harder from higher pressure, and then you're contracted longer and you've got less diastolic flow, then you're going to have progressive ischemia of the left ventricle. Not good. So you want to get your act together, the sooner the better. As soon as you understand that, it's obvious, to avoid a vicious cycle of worsening loss of the Windkessel effect and worsening myocardial perfusion. You got to get your act together, minimize dietary fat, dietary salt. Otherwise, you're just going to get worse and worse damage to your arteries, and it's going to be more and more difficult to fix. It's obvious. So anyways, that's how you optimize communication. Storytelling with images, like you're talking to a friend. Hope you found that helpful.